Huh? That sounds like your own fault for mismanaging things. Why should I have to stop having a good time and come back? Despite anticipating it, being so spot on left me speechless. Come on, don't be like that. Please. You're being annoying. Don't call me just because you can't get into the room. Just sleep in the parking lot or somewhere around there. It sounded like he was at a club, with the voices of young women audible in the background. While not explicitly banned, given the circumstances, it was inexcusable to lock me out. Seeing my husband so happily engaged made my anger reach its peak. Fine. If you insist, I'll just sleep outside. Goodbye. With that, I ended the call unilaterally and headed outside the hotel. The ones who came to my aid were my eldest son and his wife, whom I'll call Misery. Misery was furious upon hearing the story. My son had a stern look on his face from the anger. Sally, let's make your husband regret this together. After hearing my story, Misery said this and held my hand tightly. What? I can't stand men who belittle women. Especially not when it's Sean's beloved mother. If a man can't cherish a woman, he's not worth being called a man. But how are we going to make him regret this? There's only one answer to that. You don't mean? Sally, you haven't forgotten how to make a man regret his actions at night, have you? Wait, what are you planning? We're going to teach him a painful lesson. To show him how it feels to belittle a woman. We'll make sure he learns it the hard way. Misery's laugh was dark and almost frightening. That's why I didn't want to go. Alaska is just cold and has nothing else. Upon arriving at the airport, my husband started complaining, and I let out a heavy sigh. Sally, 59. Taking my husband Mike, who retired at 65, today we came to Alaska for a trip. As a divorcee with children, I had been consumed by work and raising my kids after my divorce. Sean was still young, and naturally, I had no room for romance. However, Mike, my current husband, wanted to be my support and aggressively pursued me. But I was too busy to even consider him, working hard without paying him any attention. Despite this, Mike didn't give up and kept asking me out day after day. Eventually, I gave in to his persistence, leading us to where we are now. Initially, Mike was a kind and reliable husband, but gradually his flaws began to show. Is it to maintain dignity, or just to show off? He's become overly authoritative. Right after we get here, what are you saying? Look, outside, it's completely white. Despite Mike being a traditionalist to the extreme, he's been my partner for many years. The thought of divorcing at this age is unimaginable, and I've become quite adept at handling people. How to manipulate my husband at will. Enjoying life as if it were a game isn't so bad. Since then, I've stopped feeling tormented by Mike's arrogance. So, is the pickup car not here yet? My husband, uninterested in the scenic view outside, continued his grumbling. Seeing him like this made me sigh, but the snowy landscape quickly shifted my mood. It feels like I'm raising a child again, no complaints, but familiarity can be frightening. This trip to Alaska made me realize that. I think it's already here? As I ushered my sulking husband outside, we were both struck by the breathtaking world of white. Though we get snow in New Jersey, seeing such an accumulation is rare. Lost in the moment, a large minivan honked at us. Mom, Dad, over here. Our son, Sean, was waving from the window. Walking towards the car with Mike, the rear door opened automatically, revealing Sean's face through the rearview mirror. Was it a long trip? Welcome. It wasn't much. More importantly, you look well. Getting along with Misery? Of course, we even went to soak in the hot springs in Florida just the other day. Hot springs. I'd love to soak in one too, right, Dad? As long as I can have a drink, I'm fine. I wonder if this man is a genius at ruining the mood. His comment broke the flow of a pleasant conversation, making me grumble in dissatisfaction. However, Sean is used to this by now and quickly moved on to a new topic. But Mike soon fell asleep. Probably because he's not fond of Sean. His attitude changed drastically around the time Sean's career began to take off. Being distant has become the norm for him. But Sean doesn't care about such behavior from his father. Maybe he inherited his mental toughness from me. Misery's been nagging to see you soon. Misery is Sean's wife. When he announced he was dating a girl 13 years his junior, the whole family grilled him, accusing Sean of seducing a younger woman. But in reality, Misery is such a good person, it felt like Sean didn't deserve her. As parents, we were truly happy. You'll see her tonight, right? Tell her we're looking forward to it. Got it. I've arranged for our driver to pick you up. Thanks a lot, Sean. Don't mention it. You're in Alaska, after all. Enjoy it. Our conversation never ran dry, perhaps because it had been years since we last met. Before we knew it, we had arrived in the Anchorage area, and the car pulled up at the hotel. After thanking Sean, we got out of the car and headed to the hotel lobby. Hey, go check us in. I'll wait here on the sofa. Exhausted from the travel, Mike quickly slumped onto a lobby sofa. Used to this, I completed the check-in and received the room keys. Got the keys. Yeah. With a brief reply, Mike heaved himself up and headed for the elevator. Entering our room, we were greeted with a breathtaking view. Wow, beautiful. When was the last time we saw something like this? You were looking at it just a moment ago. Is it really something to get excited about? Hey! Why do you always have to say something that spoils the mood? Keep that up, and your face will stay twisted. I couldn't help but retort to his unnecessary comment, and Mike just snorted in response and flopped onto the bed. Turning on the TV, he started flipping channels incessantly, then asked over his shoulder. What, that show's not on? Mike, we're in Alaska. How would local shows from home be on here? What? I knew that. Just saying, is all. He definitely forgot. He absolutely forgot we were in Alaska right now. Sometimes it's his clueless side that makes it impossible to leave him alone. But if I tease him too much, he gets sulky and won't do anything, which can be a bit of a hassle. Mike, let's go outside. I want to explore the city. You go by yourself. I'm gonna rest until it's time. I'm tired. His indifferent response to our trip made my mouth twist in annoyance. What did he even come to Alaska for? Despite my frustration, I quickly tucked away those feelings and switched gears. Once Mike has made up his mind, nothing can move him. I knew this all too well. I resigned myself and decided to head into the city alone. Anchorage had changed so much since my last visit, not a trace of the city I knew remained. But that was incredibly refreshing. I continued to wander around the city until it was time to meet up with Sean and his family for dinner. As it got later and time neared, I decided to head back to the hotel. I was about to go fetch my husband, thinking he might need a reminder, but it turned out to be unnecessary. In the lobby, there he was, sitting on a sofa with a spring in his step. Is our ride here yet? You really spring into action when it's about alcohol, huh? Mike loves his drink. And he's not great with it, which has always been a concern for me. I didn't want to cause any trouble for Sean and his wife this time, so I had asked him to hold back. But Sean insisted he'd handle it, and I reluctantly agreed. I've heard Alaska's booze is great. I'm gonna drink to my heart's content tonight. Just keep it moderate. We can't be a nuisance to Sean and Misery. The last thing I wanted was for him to cause foolish behavior. Filled with dread about what the evening might hold, we waited for our ride. Soon, a minivan pulled up in front of the hotel. A man who looked like Sean's driver showed his face and guided us to the car. The vehicle quickly set off, heading towards the restaurant where Sean and his family were waiting. Both of you, over here. We were greeted by Sean and Misery in front of the restaurant we were sent to. Mike and Sally, long time no see. Wow, Misery, you're as beautiful as ever. Thank you, Mike. I'm so happy you reached out and came all this way to see us. Well, it's only natural to invite my son and his wife since we're coming all the way to Alaska. It was Mike who had reached out to Sean and Misery, suggesting we meet up since we were making the trip. But I suspect Misery was the real reason. He probably wanted the company of a beautiful woman while drinking, his ulterior motive all too apparent. Such ulterior motives are blatantly obvious. But Misery, accustomed to such situations, reassured. Don't worry, Sally. Let's enjoy together. You must be tired from your daily routine, right? I'll care for Mike if he drinks too much, so please enjoy the meal. I decided to indulge in her kindness, prioritizing my well-being over Mike's ulterior motives. Come on, it's chilly outside, let's have a drink inside. The food here is delicious. And the beer is top-notch. Really? I'm looking forward to it. Mike always perks up at the mention of alcohol. Ignoring my exasperated look, the men disappeared inside. Mike is the same as ever, huh? Truly, he's a handful. But for you, Sally, he's easy to manage, right? Well, it's a piece of cake, I suppose? I'm relieved to see some things never change. Let's go inside and enjoy some delicious food, shall we? Misery and I followed inside a bit later and were shown to a private room. The men had already started drinking, prompting sighs from both of us. Despite that, the meal began, and we savored Alaska's fresh seafood and exquisite beer. It was a luxurious time, and it was almost 10 p.m. Man, that was delicious. This restaurant was definitely a must-visit in Alaska. Glad I could bring you both here. It really was wonderful. Especially the beer. The beer was the best. Mike, you'd say that about anything you drink, wouldn't you? Well, Sally. But it really was delicious. And I got to talk a lot with you, so I'm satisfied too, Misery said with a laugh, looking like an angel, and I couldn't help but smile naturally. As the restaurant was about to close, we settled the bill and headed outside to catch a taxi back to the hotel. You go back to the hotel first. What? And what will you do? I'm going out to drink again. It's Alaska after all. It'd be a waste not to drink. I couldn't believe he said it as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Exhausted from walking around all day, I decided to head back to our room. All right, I'm off. With that, my husband briskly disappeared into the night, his light footsteps only increasing my exasperation. Just as I thought about soaking in the outdoor hot tub to relieve my fatigue, I realized something. Oh no! Doesn't he have the hotel room key? He was the last one out of the room, and I hadn't received the key from him. This hotel operates on a self-key management system, and losing a key is treated as a loss that must be compensated for. It wasn't that the key was lost, but I needed to call him back. No choice but to call him. What a nuisance. I wonder how many times I sighed today. Despite my expectations, my husband picked up the phone surprisingly quickly. What now? Can't a man enjoy himself? His voice was blatantly annoyed, causing me some irritation. But getting angry would only spoil his mood further. Smile, I reminded myself, forcing a strained smile as I spoke on the phone. Sorry to disturb your fun. You have the room key, right? I can't get into our room. Can you come back, please? What? That's your fault for not keeping track. Why should I have to stop my drinking and come back? His response was as expected, leaving me speechless. Please, I'm really in trouble here. Stop bothering me with such trivial things. Go sleep in the parking lot or something. It sounded like he was at a club, with the voice of a young woman audible in the background. He wasn't doing something explicitly bad, but he should have considered the circumstances. It was inexcusable to lock me out for such a reason. His cheerful demeanor while enjoying himself pushed my anger to its peak. Fine. If that's how it is, I'll just sleep outside then. Goodbye. With that, I hung up and headed outside the hotel. Later, I thought about asking for a master key, but in my frustration, it hadn't even crossed my mind. The night in Alaska was exceptionally cold, and my body temperature dropped rapidly. I was wondering what to do next, when my phone rang. Hey, Mom? What are you doing right now? Well, I can't get into my room because of some issues. What? Where are you now? Go inside a diner or a convenience store, and I'll send someone to pick you up. It was Sean on the phone. What perfect timing. Relief washed over me at this lifeline. Soon after, a ride arrived, and I was taken to Sean's home. Misery greeted me as I got out of the car and ushered me inside. I'm so sorry for barging into your place like this. Not at all. Are you okay? Thanks, Misery. I'm fine. Why can't you get back into the hotel? Where's the key? As I sat down on the living room sofa, moved by Misery's warmth, Sean asked me in a serious tone. I explained the situation and sipped the tea offered to me. So it was Dad, after all. You knew? Actually, I got a call from the staff at the club a bit ago. They said a man resembling your husband came in, and it sounded like he was having an argument with his wife over the phone. Sean, a successful entrepreneur who owned several businesses. including a club, apparently had my husband Mike there. Unbelievable. Who just leaves a woman outside because he wants to drink? Aren't you angry, Sally? What? Caught off guard by Misery's question, I found myself speechless. Indeed, I was seething inside. Yet, after decades together, I had resigned myself to thinking that's just how he is, and getting angry was a waste of time. I'm very upset. To see someone important to me treated this way. Even if he's Sean's father, it's unforgivable, Misery said, confronting me with a stern face, making me involuntarily step back. Sally, let's give Mike a piece of our mind together. What? I can't stand men who belittle women. Especially when it's Sean's beloved mother. If a man can't cherish a woman, he's not worth being a man. But how are we going to make him eat his words? There's only one way to do it. You're not suggesting that, are you? Sally, you haven't forgotten how to command the night, have you? Wait, what are you planning to do? We're going to show him the pain of underestimating women. Teach him a lesson he'll never forget. Misery's laugh and smile seemed dark, almost frightening. We can't just stand by. We need to hurry and get ready. Sally, Sean, let's go, Misery said, leading us to take a taxi to the club Sean owned. As we arrived, several staff members greeted us and escorted us to the dressing room, where makeup and costume staff were ready. I've gathered my own team of experts, so the craftsmanship is top-notch. We'll make you as beautiful as you were in your prime, Sally. Wait, Misery, are you suggesting? We're going to show Mike just how formidable you are. Misery was full of determination. Her enthusiasm infectious. Misery, everything's set on this end. I've already contacted the people you asked for. That's great, Sean. Let's get the makeup and dressing done quickly. At Misery's signal, I was transformed in no time, dressed in a gorgeous dress with my hair and makeup done. Wearing a dress for the first time in a while, along with having my hair set and makeup done. Thanks to the tightly fitted corset, my posture naturally straightened. Sally, no, madam. Are you ready? Yes, of course. I lifted my face, resolved, and walked into the battleground that was the club's interior. Excuse me, sir. We're hosting an event tonight. You can have a drink with our #1 lady for free, how about it? A staff member approached Mike, and his face lit up at the mention of not having to pay. The chance to drink with a lady for free. It was irresistible to him. That's fine. Go ahead and join me. Understood. Misery, let's go in. At the waiter's cue, Misery first approached Mike. Dressed in a flashy dress and makeup, she was unrecognizable as Sean's wife to Mike. Excuse me for sitting next to you. I'm Misery, nice to meet you. Oh, Misery, huh? Nice to meet you, Mike said, draping his arm over Misery's shoulder. Watching this from behind, I felt disgusted and decided to beat him with Sean later. After enjoying some light conversation and having a good time, it was finally my turn to join Mike. Mike, actually, there is a lady who's new here today. Would you mind if she joined us? Of course not. If Misery asks, I'd do anything. Yay, good. You're so nice. Hey, come over. With a signal from Misery, I made my way to Mike's table. This lady is Sally. Nice to meet you, I'm Sally. May I sit next to you? Oh. Sally, huh? Quite the beauty you are. Wait, what? Sally? Initially, Mike didn't recognize me. But obviously, after years together, he recognized my voice and face and reacted with exaggerated surprise. Oh? Have we met before? What are you talking about? What is this act? Ow! I stepped on his foot, silencing him with a smile that was more of a threat than anything. Sir, we have other guests in the establishment, so please keep your voice down. What are you doing? No, wait, what's going on here? What are you doing here? Can't you see? You left me out, so I'm being taken care of here. What? Do you even know where you are? Just as Mike started to confront me, the music in the club blared. And several male guests gathered around our table. What's all this? Everyone, it's Sally's comeback day. These are Sally's fans who've come to celebrate. Sean? What are you doing here at a place like this? Oh, didn't you know? This is one of the businesses Sean manages. What? Overwhelmed by the sudden turn of events, Mike was so surprised his eyes nearly popped out of his head. When I said Mom was making a one-day comeback, we got such a rush of customers. They begged us to at least make an appearance, so we let them in. The other guests also started to stir, beginning to recognize my true identity. Hey, isn't that Misery, the #1 nightclub lady? No, look next to her. Isn't that the legendary nightclub lady from Manhattan? Misery? Wait, you mean Misery is... Haven't you realized yet, Mike? Misery said, tilting her head coyly with a sly smile. Misery? What's going on here? I'm the #1 here. And... Misery turned to me, smiling brightly. She is the former top-tier nightclub lady from Manhattan who made business in the millions in just one day, Sally. What? Mike fell off the sofa, looking up at me pitifully. Mike, you really didn't know anything about Sally, did you? Even after decades together. Poor thing. Sally was the #1? Millions? Wait, I can't keep up. It was a natural reaction. Overwhelmed by too much information, Mike couldn't process it all, so I added more fuel to the fire. Now, about today's bill, that'll be $200,000. What? Are you kidding me? Of course, it's only natural. Having me at your table? That's actually a bargain. I don't have that kind of money. And you said there was no charge. No charge was for my part only. I never said Sally's service was free. That's cheating. Not really. You just didn't listen properly. This is your punishment for locking me out of the hotel. You'll be paying in full. At the mention of being locked out of the hotel, the customers surrounding us turned towards Mike. What do you mean? They demanded, grabbing him by the collar, their faces fierce. It's a misunderstanding. Please calm down. Oh? What's the misunderstanding? Thanks to you, I almost froze under the cold sky. I'm sorry. I won't do it again. No, I won't forgive you, Misery intervened, staring him down. You need to apologize for your disrespect towards Sally and promise to cherish her from now on, or I won't forgive you. I promise. I promise. Please help me. Begging in a pitiful voice, Mike was released and forced to prostrate himself. Sally, I'm sorry. It was all my fault. I won't act arrogantly again. I'll cherish our family. Please, forgive me. Let's start over, just one more time. As he cried and apologized, one of the burly customers grabbed his hair, forcing his face towards me. And threatened that if he ever disrespected a woman again, he wouldn't get off so easily, before roughly throwing him to the ground. I promise. I'll never treat my wife poorly again. I'll cherish her. Thus, Mike was safely released and went to apologize to Misery and the others for the trouble he caused. After being firmly warned by Misery, Mike, his pride as a man completely shattered, also changed his attitude towards Sean. Later, when I was talking about this with Misery, she teased me. Charging $200,000 for sitting down is definitely a rip-off. I was so nervous it might get exposed. Misery laughed wryly, and I couldn't help but join in. Yes, the story about me being the former top-tier nightclub lady was a complete fabrication. While I did work, I never achieved such grand success. That day, Sean and Misery had worked their magic, explaining the situation to the club's guests on my behalf. To keep it from Mike, they had everyone play a part. All the customers surrounding me were Misery's clients. They gladly agreed to help out for Misery's sake, enthusiastically playing their roles. Since then, Mike seems to have truly changed, reverting to the kind husband he was when we first married. He still dreams about those hellish days now and then, unable to forget the face of the man who grabbed him. While I felt a bit sorry for him, I think it served as a good lesson.